Hey YouTube, Chris from Hockey's Tutorial here. Today we're going to be taking a look at baking your skates from home. Now this process may resolve some of your fit issues, reducing the overall breaking time of a brand new pair of hockey skates, giving you a nice custom fit. Some of the reasons that you might want to bake your skates is if you have some sore spots inside a brand new pair of skates, or you just want to speed up the time it takes for the skate to tape to the shape of your foot if you've got a brand new pair of skates. So those are some of the reasons that you might want to do this. So I'm going to show you how to do this process from home, just using a standard conventional oven, gas or electric. It's important to mention that heat baking your skates isn't a necessary process. Some skaters actually prefer to skate on their skates, which is the more traditional way of breaking them in, just using them, and over time they'll begin to tape to the shape of your foot. This heat baking process is just a quicker way of doing this. So as we said, it's not necessary. Some people prefer different options. This is just one of them. It's also very important to mention that if this process is done incorrectly, it could result in a premature breakdown of the skate. So you need to follow the instructions of your specific skate. There is no universal rule for all of them. Some skates do have slightly different needs and requirements to do this process from home. So just make sure you check out the instructions on your skates, like the length of time it needs to be in the oven, and also the temperature that your skates need to be baked at. So that's important too. So right now we're just going to go over some of the things that you need for the skate baking process from home. You're going to need a standard conventional oven, gas or electric, it doesn't matter which one. You're going to need your brand new pair of skates that you want to heat mould. You're going to need a chair to sit on after the heat moulding process is complete. And you're also going to need a baking tray, which will explain how you use that in the process of this video. And you're also going to need some oven gloves or a tea towel, just something to remove the skates from the oven after they've finished baking. So those things you're going to need to carry this out. So one of the first things you need to do, just take a look at the oven that you're going to be using and just make sure that there's enough clearance, because you're going to be putting your skates in there with the baking tray underneath them. So you just need to make sure that there's enough space to put the skates in there. So that's one of the first things you need to do after you've collected all the equipment that you need that we said at the start of the video. After that, you're going to need to preheat the oven, and we'll explain how to do that. Remember, some skates have different rules, so just take a look at the instructions of your skates before you do this process. So the skates that I'm going to be using are my new Mission Fuel AGX skates. I've had a look at the instructions on my box, and it says that these skates need to be in the oven for 7 minutes under 180 degrees. That's the temperature that they're going to need, so 7 minutes at 180 degrees. If you're using an electric oven, all of the temperature stats are displayed there for you, so you can just go ahead and set it to 180 degrees. If you're using a gas oven, it'll have just numbers 1 to 7 traditionally. To get 180 degrees, you're going to roughly need to set it between 5 and 6. So that's what I've done. I've turned my oven on. I've set it between 5 and 6 mark. I'm going to let it preheat with the door closed for about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to turn the oven off and put the skates in there with the baking tray underneath them. It's important to mention that the baking tray at this point is sat on top of the oven. I'm not going to put the baking tray in the oven because it'll be hot and I don't want to burn any of the materials or design on the skates. So the baking tray is sitting on top of the oven. I'm going to get the baking tray, put the skates on top of it, turn the oven off, and put the skates in there. They're going to stay in there for 7 minutes while they get nice and soft and heat moulded, ready to mould to the shape of my foot after I put them on once they're out. So we'll just take a look at the next part of the video and I'll explain exactly what you need to do. So while I've got the oven preheating at 180 degrees with the door closed, I'm just going to get my skates ready. How you get them ready for this process is just to undo all of the laces, as I'll just show you right here very quickly. You just want to loosen the skate up so you can get your foot in it very easily and quickly once it comes out the oven, because you want to put your foot in there when the materials are nice and soft and mouldable, so it takes to the shape of your foot very quickly and effectively. So what I've done there is just loosen the skate up, remove the laces far back enough so I can quickly slip my foot into the skates without any delay. Remember, once the oven's preheated, or it's been preheating for about 10 minutes, you need to remember to turn the oven off before you put your skates in there, because we only want the skates to be surrounded in the same temperature of about 180 degrees. You don't want any direct heat being applied to the skate, because that will cause damage, and as we said earlier on in the video, that will also cause premature degeneration or breaking down of the skate. You don't want that. You want your skate to be surrounded in the same or uniform temperature while it's inside the oven, so it can allow the materials to get soft and ready for moulding. So what I've done there is just undone all the laces, so there's enough space for my foot to quickly get inside the skate without having to handle the skate too much, because the eyelets, if they're metal, they're going to be very hot, and the blade at the bottom of the skate is going to be very hot as well. That's why we said that you're going to need something to remove them from the oven with. So to get your skates ready, just undo the laces, make sure you'll be able to slip your foot in there very quickly and easily once they come out the oven and they're nice and soft. I'll show you what comes next. So the oven's been preheating for 10 minutes now. It's hit the right temperature that I want to mould my skates with. So what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and turn the oven off. My skates are nice and ready, all the laces are undone, there's enough space for my foot to slip in there nice and quickly while the skates are nice and soft and mouldable. And the next bit is just going to be getting the baking tray and putting the skates on top of that and then putting them into the oven. So as you can see here, I have the baking tray. My skates are on the baking tray, now I'm going to pop them into the oven. So before I put the skates into the oven, I just wanted to do a quick stiffness test on the skates. If I just get a bit closer there for you so you can see what I mean. I'm just squeezing the skates over here. You can see they are very, very hard around the edges, and the reason I'm doing this is once the skates are ready and mouldable and at the point where I need to put my feet into them, all of these materials will be nice and very soft, so squeezing these the skate will have a lot more give once they've come out of the oven. That's how you know they'll be ready. They'll be nice and soft. So what we're going to do is just check on the skates at about 3 or 4 minutes into the baking process. I'll remove them from the oven using my hand oven gloves or tea towels, as we said, just so I don't burn my hands. I'll take the skates out. I'll quickly check the stiffness of them, see if they're ready to be moulded yet. If not, I'll put them back into the oven. The oven's been preheating for about 10 minutes now, so I've gone ahead and turned the oven off. My skates are on the baking tray that we said that we'd be using earlier on. I've also undone all the laces so I can get my foot into the skate nice and quickly. Once you put the skate into the oven, you need to be sure that the skate doesn't come into contact with anything except the baking tray. You don't want to burn the skates. And as we said also, it'd be a good idea to check the stiffness of the skate before you put it into the oven, and also maybe at about halfway through the baking time, just to see. You should notice a distinct difference once the skate has been properly heat moulded. It should be nice and soft and ready to mould to the shape of your foot. So we're going to go ahead and put this into the oven now. So as we said, we're just going to go ahead and put the skate into the oven, making sure it doesn't come into contact with anything except the baking tray. My skates are inside the oven right now. The instructions on the mission fuel box just over here said they needed to be in there for 7 minutes. So what I'm going to do is leave them in there for that time, but after about 3 or 4 minutes I'm just going to open the oven up, just check how the skate's doing. You should notice a significant difference in the stiffness of the skate. At this point it should be a lot softer than it was when you put it inside the oven, but as we said it needs to be in there for 7 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and pop it back in there. I'm just opening it up to make sure that everything's moulding as it should and the skate's okay. It's important to close the oven door very quickly after you've checked on the skates, just to make sure that you leave as much of the heat that's inside the oven as possible still in there. You don't want too much heat to escape from the oven, which will alter the temperature inside there, and that might affect the process of your skate baking. You want it to be done correctly. Just one of the other tips that I wanted to add, while you're taking the skate out of the oven to check how the progress is going after about halfway through the baking process, you need to use oven gloves or something to remove the skates with, just to make sure you don't burn yourself. You want to avoid coming into contact with the blade of the skate, and also if your eyelets are metal, you want to avoid coming into contact with those because they might be very hot and you don't want to get burnt. So just be careful while you're removing them from the oven because you don't want to burn yourself. So what I've done, I've gone and got myself a tea towel to remove the skates from there with, because we said they're going to be very hot. I don't want to burn myself. So I'm just going to quickly get the skates out, check the stiffness of them and see how they're getting on. As we said, it's very important to make sure you close the oven door so no heat escapes from the oven. The skates are very warm. If I just bring that close to the camera, you can see that that is a lot softer than it was when it went in there. Much, much softer. Still needs a few more minutes before it's ready. We can see the skates fine, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop it back in there. So the skate still needs 3 or 4 minutes left, so after that I'll show you what comes next. So the baking process is completely done now. They've been in there for 7 minutes. If you take a look at the stiffness of them, you can see that this is a lot softer. I can do that very easily, squeezing those in. My eyelets are okay to touch, they weren't too hot, but be careful because yours might be slightly hotter than mine. But mine are plastic, they're not metal, so it's okay for me to touch them as they're not too hot. But I'm avoiding the blade as that's going to be very hot. So I'm going to go and quickly put the skates on while they're nice and hot and warm and ready to mould to the shape of my foot. So I'm just going to go ahead and lace these skates up. It's important to make sure that you don't pull too hard on the eyelets, as the skates are very soft after the baking process. So I'm just lacing them up, I'm not pulling too hard. Make sure the tongue's nice and square to your foot, nice and even, you don't want it bent. Some of the tongues on skates are also heat moldable, so you want to make sure that you get the best fit out of that as well. So I'm just slowly working my way to the top, making sure I don't pull too hard on the eyelets, so I don't want to cause them too much strain. Again, making sure the tongue's nice and centered. So I've finished doing the laces up. I'm just going to sit like this for about 15 minutes, allow the skate to mould to the shape of my foot. It's important to make sure at this point you don't want to be walking around on the skates, you just want to sit still and allow them to mould to the shape of your foot. I'm just going to show you one of the positions that you can sit in while you're waiting for the skates to mould. Just slightly tuck them under your chair. That just puts a bit more forward flex on the skates, as this is the position that you would primarily be standing in while you're on the ice. That's another tip to use while you're doing the baking process. If at this point you feel that the skates are a little bit too narrow, you can stand up. That would just help to add a bit more width inside the skate while the skate's moulding to the shape of your foot. But you don't want to be walking around on the skates because that'll put unnecessary strain on them. So you can stand up to add a bit more width to the skate. But if you're sitting down, just try to have your skates slightly tucked under your chair, just to put a bit more forward flex on the tongue guard. Just to show you a quick demonstration of how effective this process is. On my left hand side we have the skate that's been in the oven and it's been baked. You can see how the corners of the skate over here wrap around my foot very nicely all the way up, giving the skate a much more anatomical fit. This gives me a much closer fit, reduces the unnecessary empty space inside the skate, giving me excellent energy transfer, and it also gives the skate a much more comfortable, close and custom fit after having it moulded. This one over here is the one that's not been in the oven yet. You can see how the sides over here punch out a lot. That just shows you the difference of skate baking. It's a very quick process to have the skates take to the shape of your foot. It reduces breaking time, as we said. So after the heat baking process is complete, you need to take the skates off, lace them back up and put them in an upright position to cool for 24 hours before you use them. That just allows the materials to harden in their new position. You don't want to use it before the 24-hour mark because you could cause damage to the skate. You need to wait until the materials re-harden and are suitable for skating on again. That's just been a quick look at skate baking from home. For more information about this, go to hockeytutorial.com. Be sure to join our forum page if you have any questions you'd like to ask, and take care guys.